True Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Build a movement, baby.
True Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Jason Waller here, True Underdog, Unleash the Power Within. We are super excited about today's YouTube and podcast video and audio. We have got my co-host, John Leblanc, here today. We've got a special guest coming right out of Detroit, Michigan. Brandy Liberty is joining us today. How are you doing today, Brandy?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Great. So, John and Brandy, you're both in Michigan. We're still living through the COVID-19 stay-at-home order. We here in North Carolina, I came down here on Easter. We actually get some freedom on Monday coming up, but you guys got to wait a little longer, right?
We do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Well, hopefully everyone's staying safe. COVID, I know I've gained weight. I need my haircut. It's really bad. And but I'm back at work, so the depression's kind of going away. I know John's at work. Brandy, what have you been up to? And tell the listeners and viewers who you are, what you're doing, and what you've been up to.
Okay, well, I've been cooking and gardening is what I've been doing. I actually cut hair right now. I'm a barber as well.
Too bad you're far away, because I'd be like, look, I need to get this stuff done, right?
I've had clients email me all the time. They're like, when are you coming back? You know, it's really hard for people. They're going to have to go back to work before their haircut is actually done because they're not going to open us up for quite a while.
Right.
But I also do other stuff. I'm a product specialist as well. So I do some traveling part-time now. On occasion, I'll go to an auto show. If you've ever seen anybody up there narrating or talking about the vehicles, that's me. With that, I also do makeup and hair too for like the big dealer shows. So I've done with Ford, I've done all the executives. That's a lot of fun. And that takes me to Las Vegas or to Austin, wherever they have a meeting. I get to go.
That's cool. And so when you're doing the makeup, is that for like commercials and for the shows? So you get to meet all kinds of celebrities, or?
I have actually met a few celebrities. I did Matthew McConaughey last September when they introduced a couple of the Lincolns, and that was fun. He was super cool, by the way.
I'm a huge fan of him.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan as well.
Oh my God. So he goes, when I was doing his makeup, he's like, just in the T-zone. That cracked me up.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That is great. So working a lot of shows, product specialist, and right now with COVID, you're cooking and you're gardening. So not a lot of work going on. It's kept you at home.
Yeah. We're restricted here. We're not even allowed to go to our neighbors. It's pretty tight here.
I remember before I left there, because I've got a house up there as well. It was, if you have a second home, you can't go to your second home either.
I think they lifted that one now.
Oh, okay. It changes so many times. I don't know.
What
it's
about
hard to keep up.
I've got a few of them.
We try not to talk politics, but I was talking to, I'm not practicing as good a social distancing as I should, so I apologize ahead of time. But my old trainer, John, you'd be happy to hear this. She was at the house today working out with my wife, Liz. I came downstairs and was leaving, and they were 6 feet apart, so it's good. But we were talking a little politics, and I'm not going to say which side I am because I'm blank center and she's blank center. But however it is, I said, look, the easiest recipe for this, and I hate to talk politics, is whoever wins, the other party, they get to stick in the vice president. Game over. Everybody wins. That's my suggestion for what it's worth. She liked it.
So you guys agreed. And you kind of did say what side you're on.
No, I didn't. I said blank center.
You use your right hand, you use your left hand.
John's too good.
You always say you're not going to say what you're going to say, and then you say it no matter what.
Yeah. All right. So Brandy, you were born and raised in Detroit, or no? Let's talk about your childhood. You've seen the shows. You've seen a few of our podcasts. You know what we're about. I know you've got some interesting things in your story and your upcome to where you've come up and started to where you're at now. And I know you're a mother and you've got a lot of things going on, but let's start with where were you raised and what was that like in your childhood?
Well, I was raised in Royal Oak. I was actually raised in Royal Oak and then moved around a little bit with my mom. My parents got divorced at a young age, bounced back and forth. They were a little crazy. They were partiers. They were young. They did the best they could for who they are, right? Like I don't believe in feeling sorry for yourself or having self-pity because you had a hard upbringing. I think it makes you stronger. I think you're actually luckier because when you do become an adult, you fight harder, you know?
I agree with you on that. That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was kind of crazy. Grew up as a teenager, I moved in with my dad, and my dad's a biker as well as an engineer. He's a Gemini, so he has two sides to him.
Is that like a biker, like a Hell's Angels type biker, or just a biker?
Yeah, not Hell's Angel. He wasn't the Liberty Riders, believe it or not. Even though our last name is Liberty, he was a renegade.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, they weren't the nicest bike gang, but I wasn't really around that a lot. I just knew of it. And then I went to school. I have a little bit of a college background. With that, I got into marketing. And I worked for a company called Meridian Advertising. We did the Kmart ads, which is kind of interesting. And then when all of that went downhill, you know, they went bankrupt, I went to school to do hair. And then I started having children. And then in my mid-30s, I decided I wanted to start modeling, which is kind of crazy, right? Who does that? So it all worked out. It happened. Like I get to be a part of the auto show, and I do little stuff like calendars and things like that. It's fun. It's a fun side gig just to keep it going. So it's fun to open up to all of those things. And they all kind of flow together too. Like, you know, the marketing, the modeling, the product specialist, the hair, the makeup, there's so much opportunity everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't limit.
That's pretty cool, because we've had a couple females on recently that, you know, one catapulted her career from modeling to now she owns a self-tanning product, and another one is doing a clothing line. And so having the opportunity, like you said, with modeling and makeup and product specialist and all these different things, you're really networking into a whatever you want to do type thing, right? You're not stuck to one dynamic and a grind. You can actually pick and choose what it is you aspire to be a part of, right?
Right. Yeah. And especially within the promotional side or the auto show, it provides you with a lot of knowledge, and it introduces you to a lot of people in different areas. You know, we're a big car industry here in Detroit. So it just expands everything, and it teaches you you're not just modeling. You have to be smart. You have to have great customer service. You have to be approachable. It's pretty amazing.
So you said you had kids and you went to college some college, and then you were also doing hair. So let's walk through that. So how many kids do you have?
I have three.
Three. What are the ages?
I have a 15-year-old, I have an 11-year-old, and a 9-year-old.
Boys, girls?
Girls are the older, and then my son is the youngest.
You got a son. Awesome.
And they're awesome. Yeah.
I've got 4 kids, 3 daughters and a son. So 21, 16, 13 are the daughters. My son is 9.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah. They're the babies. Oh, I love it.
We had 2 boys, and then we were told we were getting a girl. And then when he came out, it was another boy. So that was exciting. So you got what we were told. You got 2 of one, and then, you know, one of the other, but we ended up with 3 boys. Couldn't be happier, obviously. But anyway, so you actually said you had a bit of a rough upbringing.
Oh yeah.
You want to elaborate on that at all? I mean, walk us through what that was like for you. I mean, tell us, I guess, what rough was.
Well, you know, lots of parties at my house at a young age, lots of drinking, partying, crazy stuff that you wouldn't even imagine, you know, your kids going through. You know, my parents just weren't mature, I guess. You know, our house was the party house after the bar. And we were just used to it. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized it was crazy, because you just
normal for you. You just didn't know anything else.
Yeah. And it's crazy I mean, I guess you can fall under that envelope, you know, if you don't see it, right? I mean, some people repeat what they grew up with, but it's looking back at it now, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Lots of you know, we always continue to hear that anybody with a tough upbringing or struggles or adversity they have to overcome, they think that's the norm until they become an adult. And then they look back and they go, oh, that isn't normal. But when you're living in it, you think it's normal, right? You think, hey, my life is great. I'm on top of the world. this is what normal is, until you become an adult and you're a parent yourself. And you're like, yeah, that wasn't really normal, but it made you kind of who you are with tough skin now, right?
Oh yeah, even then too. I mean, I was a little different than all my friends because they weren't as tough, or they were coddled a little bit more. So I always saw myself different at a younger age, like in that way, but I didn't know why. I just thought I was, tough,
Mhm.
but I didn't realize why. And when I became an adult, then I saw why.
So in your aspect of your goals and your business, and we get excited to have a lot of female spirits on here that are just grinding and tough, and they don't take that shit, right? It's like, look, this is the world we live in. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm changing. What's unique is that you've got a lot of different avenues you've been a part of, and then saying, hey, at 30 something, I want to be a model, and you do it. There's going to be a lot of listeners and viewers out there that are going to have that same concept of, is it too late for me? What if I want to do something different now? And in today's world with social media, there's so much more opportunity to be a model or an influencer in marketing. So let's touch base on that a little bit. Like, what made you get that idea? And then what was that like transitioning into that part of your life?
Well, the idea I got was actually, I was doing makeup and hair for photo shoots for other models. And one of the photographers asked me, they're like, oh, well, can you stand in? Would you like to do this? And then we did the photos and they came out great. And I used those photos and submitted them because I was like, well, I could do that too. Why not? For fun. I wasn't trying to look for a career. I didn't know it would end up where it did. Actually, I was just having fun. I've always loved the camera. I've always been photogenic. So I thought, why not? Why not have fun with it? I love acting. I love all of that stuff. So it just opened up more doors, to like going back to when you're a kid, oh, I could do that, or I want to be an actress, or why not?
Yeah, Jason, we hear that all the time. Someone taking a call or just taking action when they think they shouldn't. And yours was to step in to get some photos. And some people would be like, oh, no, not now, not me. I can't do that. But you're like, yeah, no problem. Let's do it. And then that leads to this crazy avenue for you. So that's so wild to think about, but that's what it is. It's just taking a little bit of action all the time. We hear that from all our callers and all our interviews, is just taking a phone call, like expressing interest in this one thing. And then it just leads to other stuff.
Yeah. Having no fear. I think there's nothing to fear. If you don't try it, what are you fearing? I don't get it. That's the one thing I don't understand. You have to just at least try.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
I would agree. And I mean, every aspect I can think of in my life, and I'm sure both of you would say the same in yours, that every decision leads to another decision that leads somewhere, right? If I didn't take a certain phone call, I wouldn't have opened up a home security company. Someone inspired me to do that. If I didn't, pay attention and want to get into solar because I saw somebody else, like all these little timing spots. If I remember when my dad moved to North Carolina, he got transferred from AT&T and he gave us the choice, Gastonia or Concord. And I flipped a coin and we chose Concord. Well, I met my wife there. That's where I grew up. Like, all these triggering events change your entire life. Right. And so, like you said, you filled in there and it's like, hey, that's something else I can do. And while you're doing all these things, you said the age of your kids, you also were raising kids. What's that like, to be involved in so many different aspects of business that you want to do for you and your family, but you're also raising children? What is that like?
Well, that was a little difficult in the beginning. I was actually going through a divorce at the time too, which the father of my children is like one of my best friends. I am like blessed to have him.
That's good.
We're just better off friends, but we live like probably half a mile from each other. We are great co-parenters. Like we didn't have an ugly divorce. We wanted to make sure it was good for them. That's why we're still friends. We have dinner a couple times a week together still. I have a boyfriend. He has a girlfriend. It just flows. You can have whatever you want, like, and people will welcome that. It sounds so crazy. Me thinking maybe, another guy is not going to accept that. Well, then that guy doesn't need to be in my life. It's that easy, right? So I have him, and he was there a lot when I was traveling. So with the auto show, I would be, when I was on the global shows, I'd be gone for up to 14 days. And that was really hard being away from them. But he was so supportive, and, you know, thank goodness with FaceTime and everything like that, it was okay. But then I would be home for a month. So your gigs kind of lined up like that. So yeah, it's a little bit hard balancing it, but the kids are supportive too. They love it. I'm very open with them, and they want to support me as well as me supporting them. And that's the beauty in it too. They take me as a person, and I believe that that's good for children to see that.
I would agree. I think that that's really cool that you guys stay best friends, because you really never hear of that. Only on TV, right? It's like, how does that work? Like, you know, you guys raise kids together and you co-parent well, and now you're best friends. And obviously you're great friends, other you guys wouldn't have got married, but the other aspect is missing. And so you bring someone else into life, and they've got to adjust to that. And you said it right. If they can't, oh, well, they can move on. And obviously someone who cares or likes you is into you. They're like, look, I get the gig, and good for you for raising your kids, which are the most important thing, I would say, rather than anything else. So that's pretty cool and very unique. I don't know many people like that. I know a couple, but not a lot. So kudos to you guys for really doing that. That's pretty cool.
Well, thank you. He's my only family. You know, I mean, I'm not very close with my parents. They're around, but, you know, we rely a lot on each other, and it's great to have somebody like that in your life.
It is. And I've seen the notes here. You had a second marriage, correct?
Yeah, that was my awakening.
Sure.
Yeah.
Explain. What does that mean?
It was a very abusive relationship. It woke me up further, you know, as I started doing all of these career things. I was awakening, and I was finding out, you know, kind of what you put into reality. You can create anything you want. I kind of knew that. But then I met Ryan, and we were married. We were together a total of 3 years, but not really. He was in the military, and I was traveling. So our whole time together was probably a year. We got married very fast. He had a lot of PTSD issues. It was just a really bad, scary situation. The upside of that, he was really good to my kids, and they were never affected or saw anything bad happen, which thank God, you know.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, it woke me up. The last time we were together, there was probably 4 episodes of him being abusive. And looking back at myself, I always felt like I was really strong, but obviously I was weak and I couldn't see it. I didn't press charges a few times. I felt sorry for him. And looking back on it, I think it's crazy. I don't even know where my mindset was at that time. But finally, I woke up after that last time, and it was done. It was over. And I'm a better person for it.
And I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, that's obviously a dark spot in your past. I can tell by your facial expressions that, you know, that's a soft spot. And on this show, you know, we like to bring people on here to share their stories so some of the listeners or the viewers can relate. And, you know, abusive relationships happen every day. You know, there's physical abuse, there's verbal abuse, there's all kinds of different abuse on both ends. And, you know, I think there's going to be listeners out here that hear a girl that's tough growing up in, you know, suburbs of Detroit with a dad being in a biker gang, and, you know, she's a badass. And then, you know, she gets married, she has kids, things are great. They divorce. It's, you know, it's great. It's kumbaya. We're best friends. You get in another marriage and it's bam. It's not good. It's uh-oh. And you said an awakening. So, you know, what are some of the elements, and you don't have to get into details, but that someone listening would need to look for and understand, how dark does that really get? And then I want to jump into, how do you recover from something like that and make yourself better after?
Well, it had to get pretty dark for me, which showed me that I needed a lot. He put a knife to my neck. I was almost killed. I was choked. There was a couple times, to the point where there was, you know, bruises all over. And the fact that I had to go there, I let that happen too. It wasn't just him doing it to me. I stayed. So I have to take on some of that myself and say, why did I do that? What was I thinking at the time? You know, when you go there, you understand it more. Then you can get out. Then you see yourself. you have to see yourself and understand it, I think, to get out of that dark place. And then the forgiveness and understanding that he's sick. I don't think anybody intentionally wants to hurt somebody ever. I don't think like that, nor would it wouldn't benefit me to be angry either, like at him. You know, I can be angry at myself for not acting sooner. That's, you know, but I can't dwell on that either, because where is that going to get me? So
Right.
Yeah, like how do you get out? Like, how do you get out at that point? Because I mean, you hear so often that people are afraid to. You're afraid of what's going to happen to you if you act on it. Like, where does your process start? And
you just do it. Like you can go to somebody who is there for you. Usually there is someone who will help you, even if it's just to go stay with someone. People are amazing, and they have big hearts, and you have to put it out there, and you have to share with them so that they can help you. And then that's the first step, is just getting out. Because what's the point in staying? It's never going to change.
sure.
So,
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I hate that you had to go through that, but there's so many women that go through stuff like this. And, you know, kudos to you for jumping outside of your body per se and looking and saying, whoa, I have to do better. I can't sit in there and allow that. And, you know, going back to your roots of being strong to get out of something like that is pretty amazing, because there's a lot of women out there that don't. And there's a lot of men out there that are sick that don't realize it. Maybe they're going to hear something like this and go, I've got a problem. I've got to get this fixed, right? Whatever it is, you're right, though. This stuff goes on all the time. And it's unfortunate. You know, I'm a dad of 3 girls, and I always have to remind my future ex-son-in-law. He's a great guy. He's, you know, I always call him future ex-son-in-law because, you know, it's a joke, but he's engaged to my daughter, and, you know, I've got a granddaughter now. So he's a fantastic father. He's good to my daughter, but every now and then when they argue, my daughter's tough and she is mean and she is bossy, but she's my daughter, right? He's not mine. And so I have to remind him when he gets a little loud and I hear it, I'm like, look, she's mine. You're not. If the house is on fire, I'm saving her, not you. So I have to remind him sometimes, like, look, I love you, kid, but you got to be good to her. And when he asked me to marry her, you know, he's in a tough spot. You know, I've been pretty successful in life. You know, he comes from a tough upbringing. I've never been that father to judge. I need my kids to marry some college grad, rich. Like, I'm not that. I don't care where they come from, as long as they're good people. And I remember when he asked me, I said, look, I don't care if you're pushing brooms at Walmart or you work for the trash company. I don't care what you do. I'm not worried about that for my daughter. What I'm worried about is A, she's happy, and B, she's safe. And if any of those two are ever compromised, me and you got a problem. And so when I hear your story, I don't see him ever being that way. But, you know, things happen. That's the kind of stuff as a dad you get nervous about for your daughters, like, you know. And so that's why your story's intriguing to me as I try to think of how I could help, or what signs I would look for if that were ever going on in someone I care about's house. Like, what signs could someone see where
you do see someone being more isolated? I was so convincing too. I convinced everybody, even after it was obvious, after he did what he did the first time. People saw the bruises, and I convinced them to feel bad for him. You know, I'm that strong of a person. I feel like I manipulated even them to see my side, which is crazy, because they can, I mean, if the majority of the people did too. There was maybe 2 people in my life who said, no, that's not right. You know, people want, when you're strong, people will want to go believe you, because you're always the strong one. And that's where it's hard. If you're already strong, you can get them to come with you and believe anything you want them to believe. So you know, it's hard to say with me, you know, but with somebody, yeah, I guess isolation and being secretive, and it's so hard to say because there's so many different situations like that. You know, maybe changing their behavior, who they weren't before, not doing the same things, not being with their friends. No person should not want you to have friends and not want you to experience life or career or do all of these things. You shouldn't be with someone who restricts you at all in any way. because that's still abuse to me.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, it sounds like you, even talking to you right now, like there was an element of just no fear like that you had. I mean, it sounds like you were able to handle this and wanted to feel this yourself until you had this other person or people say, look, like you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought, maybe it could change, or maybe I just needed to help more, or maybe I needed to be more understanding because I was so tough. Maybe I needed to be more vulnerable, but I needed to be more vulnerable to myself, not to him. So that's what that taught me. The love that I was trying to give him is I needed for myself.
That's very well said. I think that's awesome and very true. You said your two older kids are daughters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you're very overprotective of them, paying attention to who they're talking to and things like that.
Oh yeah, they haven't had any boyfriends yet. So far, so good. So in
Knock
case
on wood, because when that happens, let me tell you, it's never good.
yeah, but with all of that, they don't really know a lot of the details of what has happened. They do know. I did say he got physical and that's why he's gone, because they wondered where he went. Why is he gone?
Yeah.
And they see things, I never came out and said exactly what happened, but I did teach them that you have to walk away. You cannot be with someone who hurts you. So that's another good lesson for them. And when they're older, I'll tell them the whole story when they're ready to hear it and when they ask. But for that, I feel like, they got to hear something too that hopefully will make them stronger and they won't put up with anything like that.
Yeah, that's good, because how long ago was this?
This was 2016, 15 and 16. So
Okay.
4 years.
So you're a few years out, feeling great. Obviously, you said an awakening, so you're changed. You're very positive about it. You've shelved it. You're done with it. You've moved on. So kudos to you. And it's unique. People, we got on here and we didn't know any of this, right? So we get on here, you never know someone's story. We always say that, right, John? You get on, we're like,
yeah.
You look at people and you're like, interesting. People don't know. Everyone's got a story. And everything that you learned, you said you wouldn't change a lot of your childhood and things like this because it makes you stronger and it defies who you are. And I think, there's a plan for each one of us, but how you wake up every day, your reaction and what you're doing, that's up to you. And it's a breath of fresh air with the things you've been through and how you're having to get through these things and continue to aspire to live your life the way you want to, which is how it's supposed to be, right? You wake up and choose to do that. We can tell by your energy and your smile and the way you're talking, you're super excited to make sure that that's what you're doing, right? So I think that that's refreshing to see. You're not kind of stuck on that corner of living in the past.
Yeah. And I believe that helps other people as well. That's why, that's what I want to do eventually. Well, I feel like I do that every day with people I come into contact with. Having been through what I've been through, I feel like when you go through those things, you see people and you hear their denial. Like I was in denial, but you hear it. And that's where people say it, that I'm very blunt, because I see all of that. I see someone, we could be having a conversation, and if you were lying to yourself, I might be able to see that because I've done that.
Right. You've been
and
there.
Some people want to accept it and some people don't, and that's okay too. But I haven't really been rejected by anyone yet. So I think your intention means everything. And my intention is always, to help.
Yeah. And as long as people see and know that intention, I feel like as long as there's some kind of like trust or relationship or good intention, right? You're not really manipulating at that point. You're really just pouring into somebody, and no matter how you say it, it doesn't matter because they know it's for the greater good.
Right. Yeah. And even if I'm wrong but there's some truth to it, and they look at it. And when people look at themselves, because that's what we need to do, not enough people look at themselves. That's a problem.
So true. Yeah, so true.
I would agree 100%. Everybody blames everything else. And not that any of that is ever your fault. I heard you say, but it is your fault how you react to it and what you do about it. And I think you were like, look, it's not your fault it happened, but it's, hey, if I want to do something about it, I got to do something about it. So awesome that you did do that. And I think your daughters are lucky, and your son to have a mom that's like, hey, I'm going to live for me now. I'm not going to get stuck in that nonsense. And I think that's That's huge. And I think that's inspiring to some of the folks out there. Have you ever thought about, and I don't know a lot about it, but I mean, you've got such a great story and you're very strong on your belief and how to deal with this stuff. Have you ever thought about maybe helping out at like the women's is it the women's battered shelter? Is that what it's called? Battered women's shelter.
Yeah, that is something I would like to do.
I think that's something that you could be very inspiring there. And I don't know anybody there, but we've done some donations of cell phones and things to that. And I think that, those little stories, you just help one girl, mom, lady out. It's a game changer. I mean, there's nothing like it. And I think that you've got a story where you've been through that swamp and now you're out and you're doing your thing, which is cool. I mean, like that's what I think is really unique. A lot of people do one thing and few people do a lot of things. Like we were talking before we got on here, I was like, yeah, running a company. And then we do this podcast and I love it. I love having multiple things and having my fingers and stuff because it's exciting. It's not the same. Not everyone's built that way and it's okay. But you've got a lot of things going on that it seems like you're excited about. So that's pretty cool.
I get bored too. That's why why not? Right? Like I could never do the same thing every day, all day. I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And some people can, but that ADHD kicks right in. I mean, they didn't diagnose me. I don't think they had medicine back then for me, but I know I've got it because I'm like, oh, bored. Okay, I'm going here all the time. So I get it. John, what other questions do you have for Brandy?
No, I just want to maybe recap. I know we touched on it, but Brandy, where are you at today? So I feel you've kind of trudged through some of this past, and if we didn't ask, like you probably are a person that wouldn't tell the story, and I think your story is powerful. Mm-hmm. And I think we fall victim to that all the time is we write our own story in our head about somebody that we see that's bubbly, that has 3 beautiful kids, and then has healthy relationships around them. But we don't know what Brandy has gone through and how she's been able to mend and network and have that inner circle of healthy relationships today, and maybe the success that you're having within your businesses. So maybe just touch base on where you're at today.
So I'm actually, I'm doing the hair gig at the arena. It's brand new. This is a funny story, actually. I worked at a place called Trim for years. It was a barber, and it was men only. A very classy place. It had pool table. It was decorated, super eclectic, and they opened before it was like actually a thing. So it was cool. It was in Clawson, so it was one of the first ones, kind of before they became a thing, like your Lady Jane's. But ours was a little more classy. Not that Lady Jane's is bad, but
we're not sponsored by Lady Jane's anymore. All right.
No, actually, the owner's awesome. He's a nice guy.
I just get confused that they got a radio station in Lady Jane's in Birmingham. I'm always going, I'm confused. But
they do, don't they? Yeah, they do.
They do. I take my son there sometimes. He loves the massages on the head. He's like, Dad.
Who doesn't?
Can I get a head massage right up here? Like, can you cut my hair and just massage my head? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. So, all right, so you're working at Trim, and then what happened?
Yeah, so my boss there, I only worked a couple days a week when the kids were little. When I started branching off into the modeling and things, the owner of that place said, you know what? Go ahead, do your thing. You always have a place to come back to. And that was beautiful. That made me feel so good. So I had that opportunity to go off and do those things. Well, coming back, leaving the auto show for a full time, coming back to be with the kids and to do hair and, be more local. I went back to that place. It changed. The owner wasn't as involved as he was before. He had another construction business. His heart just wasn't in it. But all of the same people worked there, which is kind of crazy for hairstylists. Usually you don't keep those people. Long story short, he was going bankrupt and the girls weren't getting treated right. So I was looking for investors, of course. So I looked for investors, and my boyfriend does hair. And he's like, I want to invest. It took me a minute. It was a little bit scary going into that, but he did. And we opened up a spot, and all the girls are together, and we're a family. Yeah. So, and we're right across the street from where that was. The day I told my old boss, and he still likes me. He knew, though I was straight with him. I said, let's be real. Like, this is what you're doing. You're not providing a great place. And I'm sorry it had to come down to this. And he was cool. Even, I mean, that's a hard one to swallow, but he knew when it's in your face, you can't deny it. So we were right across the street, he closed down, and now he's happy with his family, and we're good to go.
And all those other girls got to keep their job.
Yeah.
You guys are running. That's just great. You guys are running a hair place. I go to a place called Salon 6. I'm not out, but Johnny and his brother George are good friends of mine. So love those guys, and I go there. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to check out. John and I have to come check out the place sometime. It's up there in Clawson?
Yeah, so it's called the Arena. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
Cool.
you get a beer when you walk in. We have a whiskey store, so we're gonna team up with them and maybe offer little samples of the whiskey. It's gonna be cool. Coming big time.
Yeah, no, and Clawson's a cool poppin' city too. I've only been there twice, and I'm like impressed. I'm like, this is, I've only been in Michigan for 18 months, so I'm still learning, right? So, but I like Clawson. Clawson's cool. Well, that's really
the Arena. Cool. All right, I like that. The Arena in Clawson. I got to remember that.
The Arena. And, for those listening and watching, where can anyone find Brandy Liberty if they want to utilize you to advertise product or anything, and get involved? If you want to go ahead and give out some information, that's up to you, where they can find you on your handle or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Just Brandy Liberty on Facebook or on Instagram. My email is liberty359@hotmail. I'm also on LinkedIn under my name, Brandy Liberty, so I'm not hard to find.
There you go. And then you've got this bomb hair spa or barber shop called Arena.
The Arena, yeah.
The Arena. I like it. You guys have like sports and TV and stuff going on too, or?
Okay, so we have TV. It's more rock and roll. It's more
rock and roll's cool.
Like old school, all over the walls, and each girl's station is kind of displayed who they are and what era they like. Like I have a little bit of Gwen Stefani. I have a picture on my station of Elvis cutting Johnny Cash's hair.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that awesome?
Tell us some of the stations. Let's hear the other ones that you guys have got in there. I'm interested.
We have like it's more music.
Right. I like. Go ahead though. I love music. Go ahead.
One of the girls loves Janis Joplin. Okay. We have a lot of like there's some pictures of the Beatles. Like old great classics. It's pretty neat. We have it's really hard to describe. You have to come see it. So I got to tell you something else about your BAM, which is really weird. So whenever I turn somebody around to do a haircut, and this is what sold me on you, I was like, no friggin' way. I say BAM. When I turn them around, they look at the BAM. Isn't that crazy?
Hey, it's great. It was an omen. That's the deal. BAM is the word, man. That's how it works. For us, it's building a movement. And then, we dig in deeper, one panel, one customer, one employee at a time. But, we have a podcast that talks about how BAM came about. And it was my 9-year-old. He was like 4 or 5 at the time. And the old company I used to be partners in used to say, boom, baby. And when we left, it was like, I don't want to say boom, baby anymore. So I was like, boom, baby. One time my son goes, we can't say that. Let's say BAM. So we took over BAM, and then I had to come up with a meaning for it in like 2016. So I'm like, all right, it's building a movement. And then it just took off. So super excited that you use that word. I love that word. I don't like boom. I like BAM. It's more powerful.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. I didn't even know I was saying it until somebody else pointed it out. I had no clue. You just do things and you're not in your head. Yeah. Something natural.
Yeah. A lot of people do. That's good though. That's cool. That's a sign. Well, yeah. Brandy, we appreciate you having on, and we appreciate you sharing your story, because I think that your story will touch a lot of people. It'll be personal to people. It will be, it'll be meaningful. And not that any of our other shows aren't, but anytime we get some kind of unfortunate event that happens that people, like folks like you are able to discuss and share, it's only educating and helping those that are listening and watching. And that's what we try to do on this platform, is really share those experiences of, hey, look, no matter how high the walls are, how tough it seems, or how in the corner you feel, you can break out of it. You can live your life. You can decide your future. So it's pretty cool. We appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you. All right. So that's a wrap on today's show. Visit us at iHeartRadio. You can visit us at Apple Podcast, Spotify. It's True Underdog. Check out our cool and badass YouTube channel, True Underdog. Bam!
True Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Building a movement, baby.